What's up, YouTube? It's Mike here, back with another video. First off, I wanted to thank you guys for joining me for the live stream last Friday night. It was a great time. A bunch of people came and we were all talking, asking questions, and it was a lot of fun. So I really appreciate you guys coming out. And if you missed it, I had a little bit of a surprise that I didn't really tell anybody that I was doing, that I showed for the first time in the live stream. So we're going to get into that today. But first off, I wanted to ask you guys, if you haven't already, to please subscribe to the channel and ring the notification bell for notifications for uploads. And if you like the video, please like the video. So something that I get a lot of comments about is bare bottom tanks. The 1100 gallon and the 1500 gallon, I run bare bottom. I've always run like the 55 racks bare bottom. Well, one of them is a quarantine tank, so that's a given. But I run the 210 Pinky's tank bare bottom, and I get a lot of hate for that. A lot of people just don't understand the reason for running bare bottom tanks, and I see a lot of benefits to it, and I don't see a lot of benefits to having substrate. So that's why I've done it. And I've talked about this a bunch of times. A lot of fish keepers have talked about this, and it's not always about preference. It's really about the safety of the fish. So anyway, I do have like substrate in this tank. I have sand, and then I have sand in the tank upstairs. I mentioned a couple weeks ago that I want to aquascape the 1500. That is still a plan, but I've been having a hard time finding the supplies to do it. So I was able, however, to get a sand that I've used in the past. I used in this tank, a matter of fact, which is pool filter sand, made by a company called HTH. And I did a video on this a little over a year ago when this was the 220 behind me. Now it's the 300. But when it was the 220, I did a video of adding that type of sand to the tank, and I showed how nice and clean it is. So I was able to get a hold of a lot of that sand for a pretty decent price. So I made a decision. I realize I changed my mind a lot, but I've decided to add the sand to the 1100 gallon instead. So I want to find a different sand for the 15. Sorry, the lights aren't on right now. But I want to find a different sand for the 1500 gallon. And I was able to get this sand, which I really like in general for tanks, right now. So I've been thinking about adding sand to this for a while, and I originally said I'd probably never do it, but now I want to do it. So when I did the plumbing on the tank, I put the pumps on the floor, but I got extra threaded unions in case I decided to change my mind. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the pump off and disconnect this union here, and then shorten the pipe, add another half of a union on, and have it suspended by the plumbing. So the pump will be up pretty high off of the floor of the tank. So I'm going to do that before adding the sand, obviously. Look at all that grossness that got caught up underneath it anyway. So this is probably a good thing here. Something I don't like is the imprint of the pump in the epoxy. So I'm not a huge fan of that. Hopefully I don't have any problems with leaks from this. Okay, so that was very simple. This was the section, if I back up a little bit, this was the section that was on it that extended it to the floor. I just cut and then added the new piece. So very easy. The only problem is I didn't order the DC version of these pumps. I messed up. So they didn't have a PVC adapter for these, and I wasn't able to ever get them. So I gotta find a way to clamp this without using the metal clamps that rust. So I'm gonna see what I can do to make sure this doesn't come off. It's very important that this doesn't ever come off on me. So I gotta get creative now. So this one's pretty solid. I wrapped some big heavy-duty zip ties around it to try to hold this section in place because it is just a piece of vinyl pipe. but it's really, really solid. I think I melted this one on. My worry, though, is the other side, which we'll get to, which is a lot looser. So I might need to cut a new piece of pipe for the other side. We'll see. I think this one's going to be all set, but I really, really don't want to risk this thing blowing off and then be shooting around the tank. Could possibly hurt a fish, or you never know. It could be a bad thing for sure. So I think I'm good, though. This is really, really solid. I can't pull it off by hand, so I think we're good. While I wait for it to dry, look at these cats, man. That firewood cat has certainly grown a little bit just in the past couple months of going in here. He's getting some length on him, some head size. I remember I was a little worried about putting him in here. He was maybe 21 inches, something like that. But now he's got to be like a solid 24 or very close to it. But he's thickened up. He's definitely thicker than he was. Look at them all huddled together, though. I love that. So I went ahead and did the second one now. I've got the first one running on its own. Seems to be totally fine. I am hoping for the best with these connections. And again, this one I can't get off by hand. I've tried my hardest to pull it off. So hopefully the back pressure will not pop these off over time. It is something I'm worried about. So in the meantime, what I'm going to do is I'm going to look for some kind of water-resistant clamp, a stronger clamp for these connections, so I just do not have to worry about it at all. But I don't want to use the standard hose connections because I know they rust. So for now, this will do. It's plenty strong enough, but I am going to look very quickly for a alternative to these zip ties, and I can easily just pull these off and replace these. It'll take me 5 minutes once I find a better alternative to this. But for now, this will work. Get the pumps off the floor. Another nice thing that I figured I'd mention about doing this is the bad thing about having the pumps on the floor of the tank. I always took the risk of draining the tank completely if there was ever some kind of plumbing leak. Now, I didn't have too many plumbing issues. Most of the plumbing is above the tank, so ideally it would leak out into the tank anyway. However, you never know. And one of these pumps I always had plumbed into a second tank over here, which I do plan to do again with this 600 gallon eventually. So in time, if I ever had a plumbing leak on this closed loop that I'm going to run into the 600, then I don't have to risk draining this tank completely by accident. So that's another plus side. The most I'd ever do is drain the thing 50% and then the pumps run dry. I'd rather the pumps run dry and burn out or whatever than risk draining the entire tank, killing the fish, flooding the basement more than I already would. So there are perks to having having these pumps up off the floor of the tank. Here we go, guys. This is 500 pounds of pool filter sand. So time for me to lug it all down. I've got all the sand in here, and the more I look at these 10 bags, the more I can tell that it's not enough for the whole tank. I think I need at least 5 more, but I'm going to put these 10 in and we're going to see what it looks like. I did have to cement in some of that plumbing there, so I want to give that a little time to dry, because not only is it under pressure, but it's going to be underwater. So I'm going to give that the proper cure time. While it's going, there's really no reason why I can't add sand right now. I wanted to talk about this type of sand and rinsing it. Now, when you buy sand, gravel, for the most part, you do need to rinse it. You did a video on setting up when I had the 220, that tall tank, and I added sand to that. I did a video on this. This HTH pool filter sand does not need to be rinsed. And I have used it over and over and over again. I know for a fact it does not require rinsing. So I am not going to waste my time rinsing it. Now, that is why I use the sand anyway, is because I know it does not need to be rinsed. So I'm not going to rinse this. But if you're not using this type of sand, I cannot vouch for it. I have used another type of pool filter sand in the past, and it was not clean. I don't remember the product name, but it was pool filter sand, and it was not clean. I rinsed it, and I rinsed it, and I rinsed it, and it still wasn't clean. So keep that in mind. Also, if you use any other type of sand, especially if you were to use play sand, which I do not recommend using play sand, but if you were to use any other type of sand, I highly recommend you rinse it. I also know this sand is safe. I've used it a bunch of times, so I'm not going to rinse it. We are going to dump it right in. Hey, you know, bag number 1 covered pretty well. That's not bad at all. I dig it. I think this is going to look really nice. Alright guys, so if you saw the live stream from last Friday, you would have seen that the tank was still pretty cloudy because I added the sand on Thursday, so the day before. So that's a lot of sand. It was bound to cloud up a little bit. But now it's been a few days and it looks pretty much completely clear again. Slight haze, but very little. Filtration will take care of the rest. I ended up using a total of 7 bags out of the 10. And I was worried it wasn't going to be enough, but it's more than enough. I do have a little bit of a bare patch back here, and then the Ray has been clearing a bare patch in the front, but I expected that, and yeah, I think we are all good. I don't really care about that bare patch back there. Over time, the fish will move the sand around, and I'm sure it'll get covered or it'll stay exposed. I don't care too much, but I love the look, and I am very happy that I did it. So I hope you enjoyed this one, guys, and I know all the people who really don't like bare bottom tanks will appreciate this. So yeah, again, I'm happy I did it. I think it was the right move. It looks really nice, kind of sets the tank up over the top a little bit, in my opinion. So moving on, the next thing will be adding sand to the 1500. I have a different color sand coming. It cost me like over $300. It cost me a lot of money. But it's what I want. So the shipping was free. It's coming right to the house. That's also kind of a plus. I don't know how they're going to deliver. I think it was another 500 pounds of sand that I ordered. So I don't know how they're going to deliver that, but we shall see. And as soon as I get it in, I will do a video on that. I am very excited to see the 1500 with substrate also. But thank you guys as always for watching. And please don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video.